Alright, let's do a quick little video. I'm 3 beers in, so this probably isn't a good idea, but I don't feel drunk, so I'll be good. Anyways, I don't know if you guys use Discord. I've been trying to avoid Discord, but I'm on a couple servers I need for different stuff, especially like Linux projects. Oh, jeez. Anyways, so the biggest Linux Discord on the platform, right? It's all things Linux. They were the .gg/Linux server. I was with them for a bit doing some XMPP stuff, but we had a kind of a difference in philosophy. One of the problems was security, and it was because we were fucking vibe coding everything. And I was like, this is gonna get us hacked. That's not a good idea. We should probably actually do research before we make this. And eventually it did get hacked, and that was a whole mess. It got raided, like CP and Gore was spammed all over the place. It wasn't fun. But I ended up quitting because I was like, I don't really... So the reason I use XMPP is because I'm trying to avoid not just Discord, but I'm trying to avoid Discord people. And what the owner of ATL found out about is why I don't like those people, and they found it out yesterday. So what had happened was there was a lot of DMs. So to make a long story short, the owner of ATL knows me from like some forums as well as some chat rooms, which are like total free speech, like no moderation whatsoever. And because of that, you get a lot of people that shitpost like a lot, you know? And so you'll see a lot of racist shit, you'll see a lot of like Nazi shit, you know? Just all the sorts of shit, right? And when you participate in that, obviously you aren't cultivating a professional identity, you know? So Kazan had messaged me and said, oh, I can't work with you anymore because you're saying all this racist shit. And I was like, yeah, it's just for fun, you know, like, what the fuck? Like, I'm allowed to say whatever I want here, so I just pretend like I'm on 4chan. And you guys know me, if you've ever been on my XMPP, you know, it's pretty much an anarchy chat. And the reason I do this is because I'm trying to cultivate a community that isn't afraid to say what it wants to say, right? And I feel like having a strict terms of service on your, especially like on your Discord, it removes a lot of that sense of freedom that you get from other platforms. And yeah, I'm basically saying, like, if you're not free to say the N-word all you want, like, what the fuck are you doing? You know? That's just kind of how it is. So, anyways, yesterday, somebody had not only scraped a bunch of direct messages from Kazan and then accused her of being I think a pedophile and a groomer. Now, I've seen the post that Kazan sent me against it, and honestly, like, I don't really care. It's all just drama to me. But we're not here to talk about somebody being a pedophile, whether it's true or not. What we are here to talk about is why you need to preserve your fucking anonymity. Because that is the lesson that needs to be learned. So I'm going to tell you a little story about what happened to me on 8chan. So on 8chan, I got romantically involved with somebody. And they ended up, after they broke up with me, they leaked my fucking passport and all this other docs on the internet for everybody to see. And these were like people who actually wanted to ruin your life. Like, there were a lot of hackers, there was a lot of other crazy shit, you know? So I ended up getting fucked in the ass really hard on that one. And because of that, not only was that extremely traumatic, especially since I had to deal with the police too. But, I lost a lot of that community I had. And you'll hear this from, especially people that have scorned their religion, like if they come from the Mormon church or some other, like, evangelical heretic shit. You'll see that they're not willing to lose their community because that's what they built their life on, you know? And so what happened to Kazan was she had built her life on this Discord, you know, and she had cultivated like 30,000 people in order to talk to them on this Discord and to work with them and to collaborate and learn and build a community, you know. And within one day, that was taken away from her because of stuff that she had posted about her in real life self, as well as stuff that she did with minors. And I mean, like, you can cancel me for fucking anything, you know, and, like, shit, if you know me from any platform, you can say I'm a fucking Nazi and fuck off, I don't care, you know? I don't care what you think of me, I don't care what I say, honestly, it has no bearing on anything, you know? This is words. Like, I am text on your screen, I am a voice in your computer, you don't need to listen to me, you don't have to subscribe to my channel, I don't really give a fuck. This is a diary, you know what I mean? So... anyways, Kaizen found out the hard way that when you mix your personal life and your internet life together, eventually somebody may find you and want to take you down, you know? And that's why I have become an advocate for these more, like, privacy conscious spaces. Like, I am very focused on my anonymity. I want people not to know who I am because I am afraid. I am afraid of them, like, trying to kill me. You know, that's something that happened. That's actually something that people want to do. There's a lot of people who probably want me to die. You know, so... and so we had a long discussion over Discord about this, and I said, do you understand now why I'm such an advocate for these spaces? Why I want people who are outcasts, people who have been... I especially have problems with, like, the LGBT community, where I think that they are too quick to anger and they cast out people that they probably need as allies. And instead of... I mean, this is, like, a problem with leftist politics in general, is nobody wants to educate anymore. Everybody just wants to, like, call you shit and fuck off, you know? And that's honestly fucking why Trump won the White House back in 2016, was because people got sick and tired of, okay, you're not going to debate us anymore, well, we'll just take it to the voting booth because you didn't teach us anything, you know? And I don't like that. I don't like that attitude. I don't like that community. I find the Discord community extremely cutthroat, and basically everything I hate about the quote tolerant left, you know, is they aren't nearly as tolerant as they claim to be, and they may end up, like, ruining your life over some stupid shit, you know? And so after this discussion, you know, I was just like, I mean, like, I know we still can't work together, but I do wish that you would, like, join me, you know, but when you do that, you have to be willing to put up with a lot of shit, because I put up with a lot of shit, you know. I put up with the racism, I put up with the transphobia, all the bigotry and everything, and I do that because I require that people are free to speak their mind, no matter what it is. And I will fight for their right to say whatever the fuck they want, you know? Because that's just the way I think things should work. And because I've become that social outcast, because I've had my community betray me and, like, you know, threaten to kill me, you know, I've lost everything before and I've had to come back with a new identity. And it's because of that, you know, I have this attitude, and I've learned to hate people, you know, like, it's not their fault, it's just that I'm just too traumatized, really, and I just don't really want to interact with people on a personal level anymore. It's, you know, it's just something I'm gonna have to deal with probably for the rest of my life. I have to get therapy on it or something, I don't really know. But Kaizen learned that lesson yesterday, and I was like, do you get, you know, I feel empathy for your situation. I understand what you're going through, because I've been through it, you know, I get it fully. And, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, how do you tell somebody that it's like, okay, you can come back from this, you know, there are ways to rehabilitate yourself. And it's something I've explored. I actually can't talk about a lot of it on this channel because this is YouTube and even PeerTube. I'm sure my audience would fucking crucify me for it. But I do work with some queer communities on getting people, like, rehabilitated that are getting into, like, some dangerous territory, you know, to help people not harm each other, you know, and that's something that I advocate for, because I do think that eventually, if we're going to have true queer liberation, we are going to have to accept Freak for what it is and just promise not to harm anybody, you know, and if we can do that, then there will be a lot less infighting, there will be a lot more acceptance and allies, and that's just probably the best way to go about it. I mean, like, this is probably the most extreme thing you'll ever see me hear me say on this channel. You know, it's not something I'm usually open about unless you're like super into queer communities and all that. This is not something I usually. Not only is it extremely risky to talk about, but I feel like the context is necessary in order to explain why people need to have access to these spaces where they can be anonymous and they can say what they want and they don't have to fear persecution for it. And I do maintain a kind of professional identity with this, you know, where, like, actually my real name is out there on some projects I'm working on because that's just the policy of those projects is you can't be anonymous. And I don't really care because it's for work, you know, I keep my dick in my pants on, like, public issue trackers and stuff, and I just talk about the software. That's really how it should be. That's where Vaxxer and DHH and all those other people fucked up, was they just couldn't keep their fucking dicks in their pants, you know, they had to spout off about nonsense on issue trackers and in email lists, and they pissed off Torvalds, and it's like, yeah, just shut up. You know, keep your personal life and your internet life separate. And I think that's a lesson that people really need to learn, is the internet is not your friend. People are also a lot of times not your friend, you know. They are people that, given the opportunity, if they know who you really are, they will try and harm you. You know, and that's something that I want to move away from, and it's why I'm obviously, like, everybody should be against age verification, but the reason I hate age verification is because I see it as some politician on Twitter wants to dox the person with the Vegeta profile picture that called them an idiot on Twitter. You know, that's really the whole point of this. It's not about fucking protecting children. It's about de-anonymizing you so they can hold you accountable for the shit you say on the internet. I don't think that's acceptable. I think that's a horrible policy, and it's, like, anti-freedom of speech, you know? I don't think it's right. So, you know, people have doom posted about it a lot, and I'm a huge doomer, you know? Like, I haven't talked about Stop Killing Games on this channel because I just think it's fucking going nowhere. You know, like, even if it gets implemented, I don't give a fuck. It's probably not going to change anything for me. And nobody really wants to accept that, so I'm like, whatever, just wait for it to play out, just see what happens. If it ends up being good, I'll eat my fucking shorts and I'll be, like, the happiest person alive, but I'm a total doomer. The one thing I'm not a doomer about, though, is the internet cool kids clubs. You know, getting on those IRC channels, getting in those XMPPs where you're allowed to have freedom of speech, finally. Like, true freedom of speech. You know, it's... Like, I do think that there will always be a cool kids club. Whether or not you have to use Tor to access it or something, that's a different story. Whether or not you have to use encrypted messengers only, that's another story. But, you know, there will always be a place for you to shitpost, basically. You will have a home somewhere, whether or not you get thrown out by the broader society or whatever. Yeah. Like... And I think those holes are necessary, not for a quarantine, but to allow people the freedom to express themselves the way they want them to, you know. This is hugely important to me, especially as somebody who has been doxxed, who has been threatened, who has been swatted. It's like, it happens, you know, and it happens to the best of us, whether we're good people or not, whether we think we're good people or not. You know, somebody wants to hurt you, basically. And we have to be able to protect ourselves from communities that wish to hurt us. And I think that's a huge aspect of Discord that I really don't like, is because when you allow these people to become the rulers of the platform, you know, and I'll bring up the kind of the radical left again, or whatever, is just when you start controlling people's speech, not only will you drive people away into darker and darker corners of the internet, but you also create a community which is out to eat itself. And, like, Kaysen isn't a bad person. She's not nearly as horrible as I am, if you've ever seen me on other platforms. Like, and a lot of the shit, I don't mean what I say, but it's still, like, you know, if you read it and you're like, oh, I hate you, you know, I wish you would die. And I'm fine with that. I don't really care, because there's other people that enjoy what I talk about, and they enjoy my posts and all that. But, going after somebody who has created this wonderful piece of software and who has dedicated years of their life to fostering a healthy community, only to be stabbed in the back for some shit that honestly was a real stretch. Like, let's be honest. It sucks, and it not only damages the reputation of the person, possibly beyond repair, but they lose a lot of their community that they helped build up, and it's because they mix their personal life and their internet life together, and that's just kind of the way it goes, So, if you ever wonder why I'm super about privacy, that's kind of why. Because not only am I like way too extreme for the broader like LGBT community, but I'm also just I need the freedom to shitpost. I need to be able to say what I want to say without fear of somebody coming after me for it. And that's just mostly due to past trauma and all that. So I hope Kaizen learned a valuable lesson about that. There are places for her to go, and we could set up like a rehabilitation kind of thing, but the problem with that is you really have to hit rock bottom first. You have to lose everything and then try and get some semblance of community back from it. And when you do that, you're going to start meeting people who are more unhinged than you, who are actual bigots, and you just kind of have to deal with it, because guess what? Those are your friends now. The people who have been outcast from society, they'll develop, because like the thing is, and I talk about this with people who have been in like rehabilitation for like either being like actual Nazis or pedophiles or zoophiles or something. There are groups where you can go to and get the help that you need before you end up doing something drastic, or like a crime or hurting somebody or something. And so I do try to foster a community where people can get back on their feet, and they can feel like that they're not being judged for who they are or what they do, And I don't know, that is obviously something that, again, just this video could probably get me crucified by everybody, but I think you guys are mature enough to hear it for what it is and at least accept the premise, whether or not you agree with it or whatever. Because that's kind of the thing is, like, let's talk again about DHH a bit, is I am strictly, even though I don't like Vaxxer even as a person, I am strictly on his side that he needs the ability to freely express himself. Whether or not I think his code sucks, but that's a different story. DHS is the same way. Like, I do think that you need to shut up on issue trackers, but the second that it leaves the issue tracker, it should not be something that, gets you punished or whatever. You need to be able to speak your mind, and if you're incorrect or misinformed about something, or you're racist or whatever, people should be able to at least talk to you in camaraderie and maybe tell you, hey, you're a racist piece of shit, but they won't, completely dox you, disown you from the entire open source community or whatever. I think that's just a bad culture. And part of this is people link their personal lives with their internet lives too much, So, I may not agree with what they say, but I do think that they need the right to say it. And I feel like we have sort of restricted that freedom over the years, and we have told people that you're not allowed to even think this anymore. And I think that's just a bad concept. Because when you tell people what they're not allowed to think, you get the old Voltaire quote, which is, if you want to know who's in power, question who you cannot criticize, and pick any group from that label, any protected class, and that is who is controlling you. That is who is controlling your speech. That is who is controlling your mind. That is who is literally brainwashing you. And I mean that in the most literal sense. They are trying to control what you think, and it's a bad deal. I don't like that. I like to be able to think what I want, even if it's incorrect. And I want to be able to engage with people in discussion without them just resorting to, kill yourself or whatever. Because I can get that anywhere. I think it does. You do need to have a certain level of emotional maturity in order just to interact with most people in this world now, It's a really sad situation, but I thought I'd bring it up because, yeah, I mean, people have been DMing me that haven't talked to me in months about this whole all things Linux situation. And, yeah, I mean, it's a good topic for a video. Like, it's something that needs to be talked about. It's something that needs to be said, and we do need to preserve our anonymity because nobody is safe. You'll hear the argument all the time, and I know it's plastered on everything, and anytime you say you don't care about privacy, well, if you have nothing to say, you have nothing to hide, you know? Everybody should have something to say. If you don't have anything to say, it probably means you're a fucking NPC, you know? Everybody should have some sort of extreme opinion or something, just like any thought in their head that doesn't align with, like, the most corporate of values, you know? Because that's really what it is. It's not, we're not talking about human friendly, we're talking about corporate friendly. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Anytime you hear this shit, it's not that, you know, it's not that being a good person means that you don't say this. It means being a good employee means you don't say this. And I hate that we treat people as employees, you know? I mean, I know that obviously work is a huge part of Western culture, but fuck it. Like, you know, I want to make my own identity. I want to be my own person. And I don't feel like I'm allowed to do that, especially not on Discord. And that's why I generally avoid it. You know, I want to create a space where I can be myself and everybody else can be their self without fear of being banned or being judged or being doxxed or whatever. And I want them to just enjoy what they have, you know? I want them to build a community based not on, you know, not even based on values, just based on freedom, you know? And so that's why I advocate a lot for dark web. That's why I advocate a lot for XMPP and Matrix, federated social media and all that. You know, you can find me in a lot of different places. You just may not know where I am, and that's because I deliberately hide that from you. Because there's a lot of things I say that could get me, like, you know, fucking thrown in jail probably, and I just don't want people to... I put on a face different places I go, and people will question me about that. And people will say, maybe you're two-faced. It's like, no, I've got like 10 faces. You know, depending on which community I am in, I will lurk for a bit, and then I will chameleon my way into it. You know, and that's because I can't trust anybody. You know, I have to put on a persona that makes me acceptable. And when they start to mix together, people start thinking weird things about me because different communities mix and match, you know? And they'll think, it'll be like... I don't even know. You know, but people will judge you based on how you act in various communities, and I'm like, just treat me for what I am. I'm text on your screen, I'm a voice in your computer. That's all I am, that's all I want to be, that's really all you need me to be. And that's the way I wanted to stay, really. You know, like, if you go hunting for me, you will find me, but you do have to actually go looking for it. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Bye.